Finance Committee meeting for budget purposes to order. Today is the 18th of October. The time is 1:05. With us today, we have Alderman Tolliver, Alderwoman Bade, Alderman Warman, Alderman Bugg, and myself, Alderman Franco. We have no minutes to approve, so we will go right to public comment. Madam Clerk, is there anybody from the public wishing to speak?
Yes, we do.
Would you read the rules for public comment, please?
Pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, all persons shall be permitted an opportunity to address public officials under the rules established and recorded by the council. Under our rules, any person may address the Finance Committee for up to 3 minutes with a maximum of 30 minutes allotted for public comment. No person other than the timekeeper or the chair for the purpose of maintaining order may interrupt a person recognized for public comment during his or her comments. Members of the Finance Committee shall not engage with nor respond to a speaker during the time set aside for public comment. Staff is directed to follow up with members of the public with respect to any concerns raised during public comment.
Madam Clerk, would you read the name of the first speaker, please?
Curtis Wilson.
Mr. Wilson, you have 3 minutes, and you may begin now.
Thank you so much. My name is Curtis Wilson. I'm the chairman of the Aurora Civilian Review Board, a member of the Aurora Veterans Advisory Council as a civilian, and then as well as a member of the African American Heritage Advisory Board. The purpose of my comments today is just simply to say thank you. I saw on the agenda that boards and commissions will be discussed as far as perhaps budgets for the next year. I think it was just last year that the council approved funds for the boards and commissions, which has been so invaluable for us to, as far as programming is concerned. For example, just with AVAC recently, we had a brick laying ceremony over at the Sunken Garden, and the fire department came out with the trucks and the flag, so that was appreciated. The African American Heritage Advisory Board with our banquets and scholarships, and then with the CRB, looking to do increased programming, for example, with like Mutual Ground or the Live Center or AID to bring in resources so that folks know additional options for them in the case of interactions with police that, for example, they may be domestic violence survivors or just need some type of counseling. That's the kind of things that we would do with the funding. So literally just want to say thank you. Mindful of my time, but again, I appreciate that you all consider the boards and commissions for the next year's budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Madam Clerk, anybody else wishing to speak?
No, we do not have anyone else.
Okay. Then we'll go into the agenda items. First item on the agenda, we're going to skip around a little bit. We're going to go to the Alderman's office, which would be 24-0780. Okay, and we'll be reviewing the proposed 2025 city budget for the Alderman's office.
Okay.
I read each one, though, right?
Rich Jacobs, Chief of Staff for the Office of Alderman. You will find our 2025 proposed budget on page 255 in your small budget booklet. I'd like to first off start off with accomplishments for 2024. There's a few new items at the bottom that I'll go over. That's not what is in the budget since that was submitted many, many months ago. So our accomplishments, our office accomplishments, is that we successfully onboarded and trained a new alderman. We also successfully hired and trained 2 new aldermanic aides. We had 2 seasonal employees hired for our retention file backlog, and they were extraordinary, and not only did they complete the project, they prepared us to be able to continue that work in a timely manner, and they finished the job earlier than anticipated, so we were very happy about that. Our office has processed 34 block parties, 5 street closures, and my staff have clerked 95 meetings thus far. Those are all just year to date, as of today. The next slide, you all have seen this before. This is our organizational chart. And the next 2 slides, you have seen this before, but this is the aldermanic staff their duties for both the office and the individual alder people that they work for. The next slide is, I would like to take you to page 2, I think it's 258. And I'm going to go over a few line items where there have been major changes. And to just bring this to your attention, line item 42-01, education and training. We will be updating what is appearing in the booklet, the sub lines from that. There's a line item that goes back to an aldermanic retreat from many, many years ago, and so I'm going to be working with Stacy to update those lines. But what's in the slide is what needs to be shown here. So basically, this line item used to be $10,000. We increased it 10,000 to a total of 20. And the way this breaks down is we have 10,000 to go to the IML Chicago conference. Remember, I have to prepare a budget well in advance, and so I don't know how many people will be going. So what is budgeted is if all 12 of you are to go, decide you want to go, then I have the money for all of you to stay for one night at the conference. And that is also a part of the office policy that was discussed a few months ago at the RAP committee. The second line item, the lobby day, there's many of you that decide to come down to Springfield as a part of the Illinois Municipal League's lobby day. And so this line item takes care of that. A new line item is staff training. It's always been there, but I really want to provide opportunities for staff to be trained. And so what has happened in the past is we kind of ran out of money. So the $3,000, I believe, at least for 2025, should help us provide some training opportunity for our staff. And then a new item, the National League of Cities Conference. The city is a member of this. We are as well. And so out of this $9,000 is the, correct me if I'm wrong, Crystal, is our portion of the membership, which is $5,000. And then the remaining money is to be used to send older people to a conference. We haven't really, this year we were able to send Alderman Bugg to Chicago for a conference that is not normally offered in Chicago, and it was a great opportunity, and it happened at the last minute, and I certainly will let Alderman Bugg talk about it. But as I get more information and I work with the mayor's office, there could be some opportunities, and the chances that they're going to be local are very slim, so we have to take into account how many people go and airfare and hotel.
Rich, can I ask you real quick about the last slide with the
Sure.
IML lobby day? So if you go down there, you don't pay for overnight stay for that?
No, it's one night.
One night stay?
Yep.
So you go to Chicago, it's $10,000. You go to IML, it's $3,000.
Well, more people go.
But just because of the historically how many people have gone.
It's how many people go. There's no charge to IML doesn't
Okay.
charge a conference fee.
Okay. All right.
Is that
All right. I just tried to
in
wonder why the
Springfield
difference
and
was.
Chicago
Sure.
is not as expensive.
Right.
The hotels
Yeah. Oh yeah.
are vastly
Sure.
different in the price point.
Mr. Alexander, you want to add to
I
that?
can.
Oh, sure.
So, Alex Alexander, Chief Management Officer. So, I believe, Rich, right now what's in the proposed budget for this line item is $20,000.
Correct.
So, my math is correct, this is $25,000. But I'm not sure the NLC conference, the $9,000, you mentioned 5 of that is the membership, that wouldn't come out of this line. It would be in a different line item. So the aldermen have before them a $10,000 increase, which is correct there, but then where your plus is, that would put it to 25,000. But Chris or Stacy, a portion, so we've taken the NLC membership and we've spread it out over all the departments, correct? So then what's the apportionment to the alderman, 5,000?
Well, 4,000 would put you at 20,000, because you got 16,000 without that. At 4, you're 20, so I don't know how that breaks down, but that would come out to the 20 if that's how that broke down.
No, I do.
So I just want to get that accurate, because the next sort of related item, 4203, we're increasing that by 5, which is 25,000 from 20. So if we change, budget staff, if we allocate, we don't put the 5 in there, we put it towards memberships or subscriptions, then it wouldn't be increasing if you go back to the previous.
I'm sorry, say that again, please.
So that last
The
line,
9,000.
so that 10, 6, 9, that's 25,000.
25, right.
The budget proposed increase was 10,000. Rich says in that 9 is the,
I believe, but it could be in 4203.
it wouldn't be
It
in
wouldn't be,
2014, no.
okay. I know we talked about it, and it was already
How
in
about
the
this?
line.
Just in the interest of time.
Yeah.
It looks like we want it to be 25 and 25, is that correct? Can you go back to the previous slide, please? I'm sorry.
I believe so.
Okay, so we want it to be the 20,000 for education and training plus the 25. How about if we look at how all these are allocated, and we'll make sure to stay within that $45,000 total between these two lines, and make sure that the
Yeah, just for
membership is
clarity,
allocated
so you didn't see
correctly.
two different numbers.
Yes,
Is that acceptable?
Yes, yes.
okay.
I'm
And
looking
if I could
at that
speak-
line right now.
If I could just speak for experience on behalf of Rich and the team, they're doing an outstanding job with your budget, but it is a bit of a wild card. All the years I've been dealing with these types of conferences, whether it's IML or national ones, it's hard to predict and budget for elected officials because not all 12 of you go. Some of you have jobs, some have other interests, there's conflicts. So I think Rich and Crystal were trying their best to do a reasonable amount. But again, you're all familiar with the budget amendment process, so if there's 1 year or an event where with enough notice, 10 of you say, we're going, for example, then we could make the adjustment at this time. But our team, we've been operating the last few years, we don't like to unnecessarily encumber monies
Right.
when they could be used for more certain things, if that makes sense.
So you're
So-
using more of an historical perspective,
Yes.
which we should all do because you just don't know for sure, but at least that gives you an idea of a baseline.
Like in the original days when I was here, I would say more than half the council would attend IML. And that has kind of decreased over the years. So,
Right. Okay.
for what it's worth.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, thank you.
Hey, no, thank you.
Chairman,
Go ahead, Alderman Bavade.
thank you, Chairman. How did we come up with the number for NLC conference? Like, is it for one alderman again, or like, it looks like with air travel and hotel stay, $4,000 might not be enough for more than few?
Because I don't know what the conference might be and where it's located. It was the difference of the monies that was already allocated. We were just detailing it out.
Thank you.
And, you know, in 2025, we will hopefully have some data, so when we prepare for 2026, we will know better how to account for that and budget.
Alderman Vaughn?
Yeah, Chairman. Yeah, for clarification, thank you for bringing it up, Rich. So I attended a conference for African-American elected officials. It was in Chicago. It was a national conference. So it was very enlightening. Got the opportunity to meet elected officials from across the country, California. They flew in, but it just happened to be in Chicago. So, you know, I had the short drive, and there were Chicago aldermen there. No, it's very, very beneficial, and kind of like some of the things we're talking about in finance right now, compensation and that. I sat down with a lot of people of towns that were exactly our size. So I met and discussed with people from Columbia, South Carolina, and their makeup of their council is just about exactly like ours. So at IML, it's kind of funny because it's Chicago. It's in Chicago, but they don't really attend IML. So we are by far the largest council that attends, and then you're back down to a city 145,000 after us. So it was a very good conference to attend. It just happened to be in Chicago, so it just by happenstance worked out. But if people get a chance to go to one of their national conferences, I believe would be very beneficial.
Thank you.
Moving on, also on page 258, travel and meetings, the difference here is I was able to increase the line item that we allot for all 12 of you from $1,500 to $1,900. This is a line item where we purchase your gala tickets or golf tournament tickets that you're not sponsoring, but the need for representation from the city, from the alder people, that's where that comes from. It's not a huge increase, but I'm working with within the boundaries of the budget that was we operated on last year. The final slide, which is on page 259, we listened and heard all the requests from the alder people, and we increased it by 4,000 to 10,000, and this is to provide the promotional materials for your community meetings, for the National Night Out, things when you meet with constituents or if you go to schools or whatever. And so we have a little bit more money. I am proud to say that we have used every single item from the past. There is nothing left available. So we went through the 3.5 years I've been here, all of the stuff that has been left over or from previous years. And so we really do need to restock. And so that's how we're going to do it. Happy to take any questions.
Questions or comments from the committee? Alderman Bug.
Yeah, minor item. So on, a while ago you used to have an allowance for water, and now we just do, we can manage. However, just to have, and I know we have it in the refrigerator, and maybe just getting a case a month for when we having guests and we have people in the conference room to have bottled water instead of from the bubbler,
Right.
per se. So a case a month, $60,
Okay.
whatever.
That's been a big challenge since I started here. Water has gone up unbelievably, even when we get it through places where you would think there would be a discount. So, but certainly, we can have that available for when you guys are hosting meetings in the building.
So the city has their own water treatment plant with the best water in the state. Can't make some bottled waters for us. We got to work on that. I hope the mayor's office is here listening to that. That would make sense to me because it's so good. It's the best. Thank you. Anybody else have any comments? Alderman Tolliver?
Thanks, Chairman. Just a quick question. Would the promo materials, would that include, like when we are doing parades, like giving candy out or something? I remember that was something that came up this year.
Yes.
We were like kind of walking, we didn't have anything to kind of like, throw out to the crowd. So this would
Yes.
include some of that?
Yes.
Solid. Thank you.
Alderman Bate, go ahead.
And you mentioned promo material for events and meetings, so what kind of promo material for meetings?
We just, some of the stuff it can be the cups, the glasses, depending on the meeting that you're having. Or we're open to suggestions on whatever you want us to order. So long.
I know we do for National Night Out and.
Right.
And all that promo material, it's City of Aurora. It's not an alderman's name on it. It's City of Aurora, right?
No, it says Alderman's office.
Okay, good. I know, right, well, right, I just want to
It's not any
No,
individual
no
other
personalized
person.
stuff, okay,
Right.
good. All right. With, Alderman Bugby, you have any more?
Yeah, just, not a question, but a more of a, we had discussed, and we're trying to put, for discussion, we discussed it previously, that we were talking about, our allotment of funds, initiative funds, that we're gonna be discussing that during budget. We need to put that on the agenda and wrap, and we started to discuss that today, but just so, the powers that be over in finance know, that we're gonna be discussing that. So of course, right now our allotment is $75,000. That was instituted in 2009 and has not been increased. So, yeah, we will be having that discussion, and as we go through the budget process, it may impact
Right.
a final number later on.
And I think going forward, now with the casino moving, and this is where it generates our funds, that certainly when they start producing more money, as we project them to do, probably twice as much as they do now, certainly that's something that would easily be, palatable, and, until then we'd have this discussion about where we're at, because at the end of the day, that's the, where we get our funds, so if they make more, then maybe we get more, so it may tie into this, so we'll have that discussion. And now finally, end with this, you guys, your office, the aides, everybody, wonderful job, top notch. Continue doing it, because, you really help us out quite a bit. I mean, you guys, there's a lot of stuff that you do that people don't understand you guys do, but you make our job so much easier, so thank you for that.
Well, thank you, and I could not do what I'm doing without Crystal, Cynthia, Ashley, and Mason. I have an extraordinary team, and everyone steps up to the plate, and everyone's there for everyone, and if anyone is unable to be at the office and their older people need help, anyone can jump in, and I could not be more prouder, and I literally could not do this job without them. So, thank you.
Thank you. We will move on, and just to make sure I have this correct, 24-0780, that agenda item, thank you, covers fire, mayor's office, alderman's office, and boards and commissions. I just have to mention that because sometimes you get corrected and you've got to make sure it's right. So next on the agenda, we'll be going to the mayor's office.
Thank you. I'm going to turn it over shortly to Alex White, the Deputy Chief of Staff.
Would you
But I-
state your name, sir, for the record?
I'm sorry,
Oh,
I'm
that's okay,
Alex
no problem.
Alexandru.
Nice to meet you.
I didn't realize I have to check in more than once at this hotel, but
Not
that's
sure, but
fine.
just making sure.
Alex Alexandru, Chief Management Officer and the Mayor's Chief of Staff. So I've just been extremely proud of our Mayor's Office staff on behalf of the Mayor and myself to echo what Rich Jacobs said. Not only do we have outstanding staff in the Alderman's office supporting you, but we have outstanding, very dedicated professionals in the Mayor's office, and it trickles down to all of our departments and all of our great workforce. So I think what you will see generally in this budget is the tremendous increase in activity and the demands on all of our staff's time to cover basically all city operations. As you know, you guys make up the legislative branch, but the administration and the mayor's office is the policy and day-to-day running of a almost now $600 million organization. So what you see reflected, all of us truly work 7 days a week, round the clock. We're all on call. And what I've tried to do with staff is see if we can give, and I've encouraged all of our departments to continue to work on training for folks, professional development. There's always going to be a need for transition, and we want to train, retain, and hopefully help people grow within local government and continue to choose the city of Aurora as a career. So, but it starts in the mayor's office. We're sort of the leadership group. You folks in the alderman office set the tone for the employees in the alderman's office, and the interaction, just to say, the day-to-day interaction between myself, our deputy chiefs of staff, and Rich Jacobs and your staff has never, ever been better. We're on the same page. We have a great system to gather information, to fill your requests, and most importantly, to continue to do the great work for our residents and our vendors and our business owners. So I just wanted to say that and thank everyone for all the great work, and I'm going to turn it over to AV, and I'm available too for any questions.
Thank you, Alex. Alex Voigt with the Mayor's Office, Deputy Chief of Staff. And so just a quick introduction to our team. We have mostly the same players, but last year we also added a confidential secretary, Yvonne Hernandez. She's coming up on her first year. Hopefully all of you have met her. And then, of course, we have Jamie Lee, our Harvard Fellow, who's here working on community engagement and the census. Just a quick overview on, I know Alex just provided an overview, but just in terms of the things that we do in the mayor's office, we manage constituent concerns, oversee all of the city's departments and divisions, manage and track all of our local committee agenda items, and as well as our federal, state, and local legislative matters, and then also work on the 36 boards and commissions. So some highlights from our office. We are continuing the oversight and ongoing development of the city's open data portal, which I know the council saw a presentation on a few months ago. We are up to 12, and there are more in development in that arena, so we're very pleased with that progress. We have oversight and involvement in the key economic development initiatives. We oversee the government relations team and all legislative initiatives. Continued oversight of the upcoming special census process, and there will be more to come in the future on that as well. Significant oversight of the city's Luminora, the first ever light festival, and then also launched a citywide website and 311 customer service revamps. We also serve as a liaison for the 5 council committees. We review and approve each Legistar items, review presentations, update as needed, attend every committee meeting, and then we also serve as a liaison for council committee members. And then we generate and present items. This year we're at 70. That includes boards and commissions appointments, ordinance amendments. It runs the gamut. We have active involvement with our external council of government groups. At the state level, the Illinois Municipal League, Mayor Irvin is a member, and Alex Alexandru sits on the legislative committee. And then at the local level, we also have DuPage mayors and managers and Metro West, and we have representation at the managerial level as well as the legislative committee level there as well. And then the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus. This group, we actually have staff throughout the city that serves on various committees, depending on their area of expertise. So our involvement with that group does span outside of the mayor's office. Right now, we're utilizing 3 lobbyists, as we have for some time. We have 2 at the state level. We have Bucola Bello with Vision MAI, and we have Marquardt and Humes. Previously, it was Scott Marquardt and Company. He brought on a partner, Chip Humes, who we've also been working with for several years, but they are now Marquardt and Humes. And then for federal matters, we are still utilizing Barnes and Thornburg. So some state legislative highlights. Last year, I know I talked about the 4 pieces of standalone legislation that were initiated by the city of Aurora and successfully passed in the state legislature. There's one that's ongoing, that's the implementation of the EPA limestone material. Our state lobbyists do a lot of tracking of state funds, and just 2 that are top of mind are the Orchard Road Sound Barrier funds and the Mastodon Lake, Mastodon Island. Leader Hernandez reallocated some funds for some improvements to Mastodon Lake and Mastodon Islands. We're very excited about that. This past year was a lot of, the only word that comes to mind is defensive, but in terms of being in constant communication about bills that are being proposed. So we did not independently propose legislation in 2024, but we were still very actively engaged in conversations about pending legislation. The crime-free housing, that's one that I've spoken to a few of the alder people about. That's one that we're continuing to monitor and work on. There's been a number of zoning-related bills in terms of taking away our ability to regulate our own local zoning regulations. We're very involved in that. And then the local government distributive funds, or really anything that has to do with our state money funding allocations, we are very engaged on, and there are a number of those at any given moment. And then they also serve as an invaluable liaison to our state agencies. One that we interact with quite a bit is IDOT. We also had our lobbyists worked with Natalie on the IEMA Act, some proposed changes there. So she was able to have a meeting and work through some of her concerns. And then they also served as a liaison for some issues with the Aurora Airport. So that's just a snapshot, but just to give you an example of the type of interactions they support. In terms of federal legislative highlights, every week we receive a very substantial report of available grants that we then send to the departments or our grant writer. That information has been extremely helpful in terms of tapping into resources that we certainly did not have before. Guidance on community project funding opportunities. I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. The census matter has probably taken up the most significant amount of time. I can't overstate the amount of support that we've received from Barnes and Thornburg, and just how excruciating the process of the special census has been, which I know we've detailed before. But it's been 2 years of consistent support, negotiations, meeting, those sorts of things. So really invaluable on that matter alone, but they do work on a number of other things. And then a liaison for any required interactions with federal agencies. For example, the IRS, Department of Justice, the FAA. So again, there's a lot of support that we receive from Barnes and Thornburg. So I did provide a handout on the community project funding because I did want to spend a little bit of time to make sure that the Finance Committee and the City Council as a whole understands money that is coming to Aurora through our federal lobbying team. Community project funding used to be known as earmarks. It's now community project funding. But it's a process where we propose to our federal legislators projects that are specific to Aurora. And as you can see on the front and the back, we've been quite successful in obtaining funding on a number of significant infrastructure projects, and we do have a number of applications that are pending as well. On the second page, the homelessness prevention. I did want to highlight this one because this was a little bit of a unique situation, but what we decided to do was to partner with Hesed House, who is our subject matter expert on working with the unhoused population in Aurora, and we have applied for funding as a city that will then be utilized to support Hesed House's efforts. So we are anticipating, we're hoping that that $500,000 will come through, but that's just a snapshot again of the funding opportunities that again we did not have prior to having Barnes and Thornburg on board. So in terms of the contracted services, right now there is no proposed change to the federal lobbying contract, but at the state level we are asking for a 3% increase, and that is, those numbers are laid out there for the committee. The other proposed line item increases that we were looking at is travel meetings. This is additional budget due to the mayor and staff participation in meetings and conferences related to the memberships that we looked at previously and leadership roles, National League of Cities, and we are anticipating that there may be a need for additional engagement on the census matter. So that is accounted for in this line item as well. Education and training, we are looking to increase the numbers here. And I actually think that number, is that number correct, Alex? It's not. Yeah, I apologize.
It was a big
It's
jump.
20. It was a really, that's what I'm looking
was
at.
a big
It's
jump.
up to 20,000, so I apologize. We are looking for a lot of training. No. So,
That was training increase, but I took it out.
Yes.
I didn't think you would approve that.
Expect
So
nothing
that-
less. We're going to Italy instead?
Italy first.
Okay, first.
so that proposed budget is 20,000, not 7,500. And this is, again, we are looking to invest in the individuals that we have in the mayor's office and ensure that they're receiving the training to perform in the roles in terms of what Alex outlined and what our office is responsible for. And that's it. With that, I can take any questions.
Questions or comments from the committee? Alderwoman Bade.
Alex, are you going to go over the boards and commissions, or there's a
I
separate-
am. That is a separate presentation.
Okay, perfect, thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Well, I'll just say that, again, you guys do an outstanding job. You know, we know, when we talk to people in the city, and especially people that have frequent Aurora in the past, but are coming back again, what they've seen in the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years has been unbelievable. And they said, this is not the Aurora we knew 10, 20, 30 years ago. So you guys are doing something right. And I know it's a team effort from everybody, but, at the end of the day, driving the bus is a big deal. So thank you again for all the work you do and the vision and the execution of the vision. You can have vision. If you can't execute it, it's no good. So you guys are doing a great job. I just want to say that.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is the boards and commissions.
All right. So as I mentioned, I'm sorry, Alex Voigt, the mayor's office. And one of the things that I do in the mayor's office is I oversee the administration of the boards and commissions. And this has grown from a one-person operation to now a three-person in the mayor's office. And then we also have an attorney assigned to us. And I will touch on that a bit more as well. So right now we are at 36 active boards, commissions, and councils. We added 3 new boards in 2024. We have the Aging and Community Advisory Board, the Sister Cities Commission, and then the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Advisory Board in July. I will just put in a plug again. We are currently seeking candidates for all 3 of these boards and interviewing individuals for these. So if you know anyone in your ward, please encourage them to apply. The interviews have been ongoing for the past couple of weeks for Aging and Community and Sister Cities. We're very eager to get those going. The mayor's office staff processes all of the appointments and reappointments. If you're on the RAP committee, you see all of those come before you. So the program continues to grow. In 2024, we released a revised version of the member guide and the staff liaison guide. These were first published in 2021 following the substantial ordinance amendments. The goal of that, for those of you that were on the council at that time, remember it was a long process. What we did was our boards and commissions, some were codified, some were not. They all had different rules and regulations. What we did was we took them apart, took a long break, and then codified everything, and everyone follows the same set of rules. So with that, we were able to create guides for the members and the staff and provide training opportunities, which has made it a lot easier to run. And hopefully, the end goal is to make it a better experience for our volunteers and those who serve on commissions that receive a stipend. We want them to have a positive experience if they're giving up their time. We added staff training in early 2024, and then this past year we tried something new, and we added a quarterly virtual training for board members on the Open Meetings Act, social media policy. We did the ethics training virtually, so we're trying to provide more opportunities for engagement with the city for our members. And we also held our first ever all board appreciation event in December of 2023. We are hoping to do something again this year as well. Some highlights from the boards and commissions, and I appreciate Mr. Wilson coming and speaking. It's volunteers like Curtis that keep this moving, and it's really one of the great things about the all board appreciation event and the trainings and the mixers that we've been doing is the boards are actually starting to collaborate and work together, which has been a goal of ours for many years. So it's nice to see that come to fruition. The Advisory Commission on Disabilities held a family resource fair and an inclusive career fair, both very successful. The African American Heritage Advisory Board held their advisory board dinner, and they also held a Juneteenth Youth Summit. Hispanic Heritage Advisory Board supported Fiestas Patrias, which is another significant cultural event that has grown substantially. The LGBTQ Advisory Board is one of our newer boards, and they have been incredibly active. They have the Prism Peer Group, which has been, that's been growing. They had the Authenticity Celebration and Open Mic. And then they're also currently fundraising. They'd like to start a scholarship program similar to the Hispanic Heritage, African American, and Indian American, and the Veterans Advisory Council. They'd like to get a scholarship program going as well. Then our Indian American Community Outreach Advisory Board hosts Diwali, which is coming up, another large cultural event. The Tree Board oversaw substantial ordinance revisions and then revised the arboricultural specifications manual. And I put those on there because the board, these documents were required to be updated in order for us to receive a USDA grant. It is a 5-year grant. You'll be hearing more about this soon. That allows residents of a certain area in the city of Aurora to receive up to 2 free trees, including on your private properties. We're really proud of the work the Tree Board did because it has brought us a really great opportunity to increase our urban canopy. The Bike Pedestrian Transit Advisory Board, you will be seeing the bicycle and pedestrian plan that will be coming out for public comment very soon, so we're very excited about that. And then our Aurora Veterans Advisory Council held the POW MIA Recognition Day. They held their first ever golf outing, and then the brick dedication ceremony, which just took place. So they've, again, also been doing an outstanding job.
Alice, can I ask you real quick, since we're on the tree thing?
Yeah.
And you mentioned the free trees and stuff.
Yeah.
Wasn't that, refresh my memory, $1 million grant? Was that, is that what you're talking
Yes,
about?
and it's a
Okay.
5-year grant.
Okay, yeah, for a total of $1 million, was that the gig, or was it?
Yes.
Okay, good. That's what I thought that was what we were talking about, but I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right, so our current boards that have budgets, we have the Human Relations Commission, the African American Heritage Advisory Board, Hispanic Heritage Advisory Board, the Indian American Community Outreach Advisory Board, Veterans Advisory Council, LGBTQ Advisory Board. They all have funds dedicated specific to them. The other boards, we have a general board fund, which is what Curtis referenced. And this was done because the other boards, they do have a component of community outreach, or if they wish to host an event or have some sort of outreach specific to their task. Instead of doing individual budgets, we created a general fund for them, and that has been successful in the sense that they now have access to funds, and rather than having a huge portfolio of funds, we have one. It's run out of the mayor's office, and we really appreciate the council approving that because that has made a great difference.
Can I ask you about that real quick?
Yeah.
So there's this pot of money for the other boards,
Correct.
and when they need some money, who do they go to say, I would like a portion of that, and then who says yay or nay on that portion?
Sure. So they work with Sylvia Vargas and myself on that, and we work through the logistics of the event. And then in terms of record keeping, the request comes out of our office, but they do have to provide documentation as any other staff member would with a request, as well as a copy of the minutes that show that the board approved the, or supports the expenditure.
So when you make that decision, besides with that, be like, well, I know these other boards are gonna ask for some money later on, so you have to keep an eye on that, so you don't allocate too much early on in the year for a board, so
Correct.
there's some left over at the end of the year?
Yes, and I, knock on wood, we have not encountered that yet.
Right.
I do think as we continue to grow the number of boards and they see other boards hosting events and they also want to host events,
Sure.
we could run into that. But for now, operating with the one fund has worked well.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask?
Alderwoman Begg, go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. So all the boards start with the same amount of funds allocated to them, or it's based on the events?
So the ones that have funds here, they have the dollar amount that was allocated to them however long ago, and that has not been touched. So I can't, to be honest, that predates me working with the board, so I can't speak to how the different fund amounts were allocated for the community boards. I know the Human Relations Commission, that's remained the same because that's to cover their court costs, but the outreach boards, that we haven't touched.
Can you please share the amounts with the council?
I don't know it off the top of my head, but I can certainly get it for you. It should be, I'll get a copy of that for you. Yep, absolutely.
Alderman Bug, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think you would have to, I mean, it's somewhere in the budget book, right? I mean,
It is in the budget book. I think, Stacy, is it in gaming? Yes. Yes. So it's in the gaming section, the different line items are called out.
okay.
But I can find the page number for you, that's no problem. All right. So right now, we do have 5 boards and commissions that receive a stipend per meeting. The boards and commissions that are listed, Civil Service, the Fox Walk, Aurora Housing Authority, Planning and Zoning and Preservation Commission, these are all boards and commissions that have a role in the legislative process. So we are asking them to review documents that then, in many cases, the Civil Service Commission, for example, they work with Human Resources Department in terms of hiring and the civil service lists, and then the Fox Walk, Planning and Zoning and Preservation Commission, they're reviewing grant applications, planning and zoning documents, and some of those end up going to the city council. So they have a very specific role. Due to the increase in activity specific to the Civil Service Commission, and then the Planning and Zoning Commission, we are asking to move the $75 stipend up to $90. There has been a lot more information that these boards and commissions are reviewing, and we thought, in the interest of keeping the people that we have good longevity on these groups, and we are interested in keeping those individuals engaged. So there is a proposed increase to $90 per meeting.
Why didn't you go 95?
We were matching what
I
the
just- I- I-
city
yes, I was-
council,
good,
yes.
Good, that's perfect, thank you.
And in terms of the administration, the mayor's office receives and processes applications, interviews candidates or arranges interviews, prepares the Legistar item, maintains a database of appointments and documents. And this one, I really do want to thank Yvonne Hernandez and Sylvia Vargas, because with the ordinance changes, we did implement tighter regulations in terms of required training and making sure that we're tracking the boards and commissions and their engagement with what we're asking them to do as a formal public body. And they do outstanding work, and I really just want to thank them for all of their efforts. And then arrange trainings and meetings for staff members. The law department responds to legal requests, of which there are many, from 36 groups. There are a lot of questions that come up. They attend meetings as needed, specifically the Human Relations Commission and the Civilian Review Board. Those are the 2 that they attend the most. And then they also provide training, as I talked about the Open Meetings Act and the ethics training. The law department was involved in those. And then city staff, I also want to thank everyone that serves as a staff liaison. This is an incredibly time-consuming job to work with these boards and commissions, and I truly appreciate the staff members and their dedication to working with these individuals and making sure that they are following the rules, but also, again, having a good experience as a volunteer with the city. So thank you to everyone. And with that, I can take any questions.
Questions or comments from the committee? Well, I will say this, I think it was about 5 years ago that we were recognized as one of the top 10 engaged cities in the world. And I think this just illustrates why that is happening, because between the boards and commissions and our people who are involved in the community, and we give them a path to do so, and we help them do that, and we engage, and everything comes out better. Thanks for the mayor's office, thanks for the people that actually do it. But this, again, this is a team effort, and I think that's why we got that recognition, which was pretty significant. But this, again, this just illustrates why. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Thanks. And next on the agenda is the fire department.
gonna have a separate slideshow besides this. Does everybody have their budget presentation?
Booklets?
Yes.
Yes.
I have a separate slideshow to go
Okay.
with that.
And Deputy Chief, if you want to mention your name for the record as we give presentation.
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Kevin Nickel, I'm your deputy fire chief. You guys got one? One of the, yep, okay.
Yeah. And can I say before we start, put a lot of pressure on the police department because this is outstanding.
Yeah.
This is really good, very easy to follow, beautiful.
That was our main objective, so just to make them look bad, you know. Kidding. Is there a way I can switch this over? I plugged it into the, it's a separate one though, if you want to go off of this. What's better than one? Notice we're not the IT department.
Their budget is out of control, so I'm glad you're not the IT department.
My apologies.
That's fine, we got time.
Okay,
We're good to go whenever you are.
great. Here to present our budget for 2025, our vision to provide the needed support for our facilities, equipment, training, staff, increase our efficiency and safety. Sorry. One of our main objectives was to help our support chief. You could see the frustration on his head. It's always been a very, very busy position on top of all the new programs, our CAD, our radio systems, our pre-planned programs, computers, tablets, mapping, our stations, all those projects on top of his regular duties. And that was shared between operations and support. So we're looking to have a new division chief of administration. This position was cut back around the economic downturn. It was a position held between 2000 and 2010. This position, bringing it back, we got double the calls now. We got a larger community. Looking to bring that back, and that'll help with succession planning and continuity of service as well. Our training budget increase We've increased the amount of firefighters, which would obviously bring up more training. Also, we've had new mandates by the state, the Illinois State Fire Marshal's Office. Before, we would get a certification. Now we have to recert every so many years, depending on that discipline. So that's going to be more training for that. And also our increasingly young department, at least half our department is under 5 years, so that brings more training.
Deputy Chief, can I ask you a question about that?
Absolutely.
Is the 204,000 the total for training or an additional on top of what we already spent for training?
That is that's our additional, yeah.
So do we know what it is right now about? I mean, I don't have to have that today, I wouldn't need it today, but I'm just kind of curious if we can get that at some point in time to see. We're going up 204,000, but how much were we at to start, baseline
Right.
from that? Oh, I'm sure, yeah, it's in there somewhere, I would imagine.
We were at 297.5 for this year.
297.5, so we're almost doubling. I shouldn't say almost doubling, but maybe 30% of, okay. I'm just trying to get a grasp on the proportionality of that. Okay, thank you.
That also encompasses our paramedic training also. So the more firefighters, that will be paramedic schooling as well. That's a large expense. And our cadets, supporting the cadet program, they also fall under that. Increasing our clothing budget. In recent years, our gear has doubled in price, so our turnout gear that used to be $3,000 is now $6,000. And again, additional firefighters, we're going to need additional uniforms and such. EMS batteries, those are very, very expensive. We're looking to start a plan to maintenance these on a yearly basis due to them getting older. They're going on about 8+ years. Those batteries have a life of 3 to 5 years, and the batteries are not cheap. So the cardiac monitor ones are $600, and our CPR devices, those are $900 a piece. Water rescue team equipment. We got some aging equipment. Some of it's 20+ years. The newer technology is lower profile as well. We have frayed equipment in that we needed to replace and get on a regular maintenance program. This is something that's got to go out to a licensed dive shop to get that done on an annual basis. Looking for a new side-by-side EMS vehicle. Our old one, old golf cart style, that's going on 10+ years. This responds to about at least 25 events a year. The new side-by-side will provide better accessibility, larger tires to go over curbs, reliability. The old one, we were having issues even finding parts for it anymore, and just being older, it was tough to start and just not reliable. And this new unit would provide more patient privacy, protection of the elements, larger patient compartment in there, so you can actually do some work within that.
Debbie, can I stop you here for a second? Because I want to make this general question that I know is going to come up at some point in time, and I know how we're going to answer that. When we purchase vehicles, do we try to get energy efficient, electric type of things? What practical? If not, we just go the other direction because safety comes first. Is that we always take the consideration?
Absolutely.
All right, I just want to ask that question. I know it's going to be picked apart sometime.
Yeah.
We always believed that was to be the case. Well, I guess we're just ensuring it for future
Yep.
questions?
No, it's
Okay.
always a heavy consideration
Sure,
on our part.
good,
Yep.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This here, power lift jacks, so these oxygen bottles that are in all of our ambulances are 109 pounds, and it's awkward. We would lift them by hand and put them in. They would roll, open into potential for back injuries and hand injuries because the compartment is almost just the same size as that tank. So you got one or two firefighters trying to heave this in there. So we felt this was definitely a way to make the work environment more safer. By outfitting each station with one of these would easily cover one injury. Drop cord reels. So each one of our units has elaborate electrical systems, and the drop cords we were using were 15 amp, and it was overheating. It was a suggestion by Fleet Services that we go to 20 amp because that overheating was not good for the equipment and fire hazard type situation. So unfortunately, going from 15 amp to 20 amp, it goes from $60 a unit to $600 a unit. But in the long run, it's definitely better for our equipment and the life of our equipment and the safety of the station. Station 5, that was built back in 1990. Definite updates needed for obvious reasons. We got old turnout gear lockers that were wood. Would just absorb all the toxins and just not ideal for today's studies and things that they do with our gear and keeping things clean and out of the elements. So we had Birchaw come to the station and he went through it. They're talking about putting a newer system in there, and then also the floors. I'll show you on the next slide here. These floors have seen better days, so the floor would be redone as well, resurfacing that. But those lockers would look like this then, just more open, breathable.
Is this the last station of current stations that would have to change from wood to other? Or are there any other stations that have wood that are going to be looked at later on?
I believe that's one
Last-
of our last ones.
Okay.
Yeah, last one, yeah.
Okay. And obviously, the new ones, we're not going to go that way.
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
It's going to look like this, yeah. Air duct cleaning, again, Birchaw wanted to get us on a regular maintenance schedule with that, cleaning the air ducts at the fire stations, keeping the air quality better. We're constantly in and out in the stations, coming from different homes, and that's just important to keep those air ducts clean. So this is to have a regular maintenance program for that.
So when we have a regular maintenance program, are we just going to do once every X amount of years? Because I see there's nothing in the subsequent years, so it's not a yearly thing, it may be every 4 or 5 year type of thing? I don't know, I'm just,
Yeah.
based on the numbers here.
We're looking at about every 4 years is
Okay.
what's recommended. to
Okay, yeah, that makes sense why these weren't filled in, I just want to make sure.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. This is some of our old ducts here.
Yeah.
Fluorescent light replacement, just replacing all of our lighting with longer lasting, better sustainability with the LED lights. So we got a lot of old lighting still that needs to be updated, so that's what that one is.
Question.
Yep.
Alderman McBay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Have we worked with ComEd for any kind of grants? I know they provide grants for
Yeah.
energy efficient.
Yeah, I would have to run that by Birchaw. He was kind of heading that up. So I will definitely bring that up to him. Yeah, that's a great idea. Mhm. Okay, Fire Station 7. We got a lot of that beautiful wood. This station was from 2020. Over time, with the sun beating on it, it does need to be treated. Because you can see some of its structural members and things of that nature. So originally, we were approved. Hang on. We were approved for 70,000. That was in 2004 we were approved. But the recent estimate came in at 160 when Mr. Birchaw had that estimated. So we were looking for 90,000 additional to the already 70 that was approved.
So I have a question about that. We go back to when this was built. Did we anticipate, because I figured it was like $32,000 a year to treat this wood so it doesn't go bad and rot, which is fine, except is that something we anticipated happening? Because I'm wondering why we would do that, because that's a big chunk of money per year.
Absolutely.
It looks good, but, what's the cost of aesthetics versus, quality and usefulness?
Yeah.
Hi, Dave McCabe, Fire Chief. So I recently spoke to Don Davids, who was the Support Services Assistant Chief at the time this building was built. And he said when they designed this building, they said, we can do this, but it will cost this money to maintain the wood in the future. And that it was a decision that was made to proceed at that time. I don't know whose decision it was, but he said, if we do this, we have exposed wood, we know this will be an ongoing expense every 4 to 5 years. And they said, yeah, we're aware of that, but we want it.
Okay. And for me, it's like, there's a lot of good things out there that look nice, that you don't have to put $32,000 a year just to keep up. So that was kind of a quandary on why, did we anticipate that or not? If it's built in, it's fine. I don't remember because I was here when we did, I don't remember that was going to be a cost. It is what it is now, but it seems like a lot of money per year for something to look nice. And we got it there now. It's just, it seems like a lot, that's all.
Yeah. The new stations that are being, the architects going through, we don't have any wood. in
Well,
those, so-
sometimes you just learn.
Yes,
You learn
yeah.
from past practices, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Alderwoman Warman?
With that being said, is there any consideration of maybe, there's so many new products available out there, probably even since 2020, to go to a non-maintenance type of wood that still looks like wood, like homes that you see build decks with, I don't know what it's called exactly. Has there been, composite, yeah. So has there been talk of maybe a big, I don't know what it even costs. Has there been any consideration, maybe seeing what it would be to go maintenance-free at some point?
Yeah, there was talks of even wrapping it with aluminum and things that would take away from the original aesthetics that were planned for that building. So that's always, that was a thought process for us as well. But again, I think they wanted to stay with the original and
Well, I would think it would be a good idea going forward to look into that, see, if you can keep the aesthetics looking good by going another way, even if you have to throw $60,000 in, $32,000 a year is going to pay for itself in 2.5 years. So that might be something we look forward to, and,
Sure.
we like it looking good, but at what cost, I guess, so.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Chairman?
Oh, Mr. Alderman DeMel?
I thought I might jump in here since this is
Yeah.
in my ward.
Yeah.
I know what the thought process was, that it's across the street from one of our more beautiful parks.
Sure.
And they wanted to have it look like a park shelter, so that's the reason it was there. It's unfortunate it cost this much. I don't know whether, I respect Mr. Birchall and his team, but, if there's other maybe cost-saving, things that we could do. And again, I was around when we were building the other fire stations, like Fire Station 10 out in the 5th Ward, and I know we built a lot of them like that in an effort to try to be efficient, minimize roof penetrations, and make them brick, make them as maintenance-free as possible, which I know at the time the fire department was very proud of those. And hopefully we have lessons learned as we move forward for these new 3 fire stations. But I had one other question coming just back. Those things that you pick up the tanks and put them in there, are you going to buy one of those or multiple of those for $32,000?
one of them at each station. They're about $1,000 a unit.
Okay.
Yep.
Any questions on this particular topic? Okay, go on. Deputy Chief.
And that would conclude it. Any questions?
Any questions from the committee up to this point? Alderman Bug.
I just have one question, because I was actually out at EMS open house yesterday. The vehicle that we are replacing, what year is that?
I asked EMS, and they said if they were to guess, it'd be 2013.
Okay.
The old, the golf cart?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think I saw it.
Yeah.
But maybe not. Okay. I mean, it doesn't look like it's 10 years old, but.
Yeah. And one of the, like the smaller tires going over curbs, and the treatment area is not efficient at all. You're like not even facing, you're sitting next to the patient. It's just, it was bad setup. From when they originally had it, there was limited things that were out there. So a lot of it was makeshift. Now there's a lot of companies out there making it to provide better service, so.
Okay. I'll go with what you said, because when I looked at it, I thought it looked strange. But
Yeah.
that's not my field. So I was like, they're the experts. They know how,
Yeah.
how it should look. So.
Yeah, no, you're
okay.
right. It is strange.
Alderwoman Bade.
Is there any plan of updating the equipment at Fire Station 8? The microphone and
Oh,
don't work well, so I thought there was a plan to put that on in 2024, but I didn't see anything.
in the conference room?
Yes.
I believe that's more the city, that portion of the building than the fire. The city runs that, oh, sorry.
Alex Alexandru, Chief Management Officer. So we are undertaking, as you know, a 311 conversion, the goal being March 11th, 3/11 of '25. Included in that plan, since the building is part Fire Station 8, part customer service, we are putting together a plan that will include enhancements to the conference room, the small conference room, in terms of the look, the sound, the video, as well as enhancements to the customer service. And we're enhancing the exterior. So our goal is to have a separate, very identifiable 311 customer service center, along with potentially sort of a version of a city hall annex there, so that we are talking internally to staff about supplying, perhaps during certain parts of the week, scheduled some services so that folks don't necessarily on that side of town have to come down for routine things. We're also exploring including a new kiosk that'll be accessible 24/7, similar to the one that's downstairs here. So there are significant enhancements coming. It will look, the physical building will be the same, but we're looking to enhance and give a separate identity and entrance to Station 8, separate for the new 311. So there are a lot of services coming to that side of town.
Can't wait to see that. Thank
I'm
you.
sorry?
Can't wait to see that.
Yes.
Thank you.
We're ready to provide them.
And the other thing was,
Turn, I think your mic is off, maybe.
I don't know.
Well, it's
close
green down
on,
below, but it's not green up top. I don't know if that makes a difference.
There it is.
There you go.
Okay. Sorry about that. The org chart shows your title as Operations Assistant Chief, so maybe we need to update that.
Yeah, we did provide, yeah.
Okay, and thank you for giving this to
Yes,
us.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for the Deputy Chief? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Dan retired. He didn't have a role.
I saw him a few weeks ago.
Well, Fire Prevention Bureau Division, they're gonna give theirs, and then Emergency Management's gonna do theirs too. So you got these guys, and then you got Emergency Management, yeah. Shocking. It's not 5 o'clock yet, right? Somewhere in the world. we're not here. Go
Good
ahead, sir.
afternoon, Fire Marshal teams. This is the Fire Prevention Bureau 2025 decision packages. We're looking to hire 2 full-time civilian inspectors to add to our current 3 inspectors that we currently have. This would be Illinois Office of State Fire Marshal certified or equivalent inspectors that would be assigned to the Fire Prevention Bureau. Currently, the fire department and the Fire Prevention Bureau oversee about 10,000 inspections, anywhere from food trucks, businesses, schools, hospitals, propane tanks, hazardous materials, that type of thing. And currently, we are only using 3 inspectors to get these done, as well as the fire companies. So obviously, we know they're busy. So when we have an increased workload and we're short-staffed, that increases our chances of inspections being missed or becoming extremely past due, which obviously becomes conditions to the city that we take liability for some of these inspections and these businesses that are operating unsafely. So the 2 full-time civilian inspectors would allow the Fire Prevention Bureau to expand further into the community, also to help reduce fire and other life safety risks, work to grow and strengthen the community's education and awareness of the changing technologies like the lithium-ion batteries is a big topic, different processes and industry standards. This will also allow the Fire Prevention Bureau to witness required annual inspections and testing, such as fire pump testing, which the state mandated must be done by certified inspectors, which are NICET Level 3 inspectors. But we just don't have the people to go out there and make sure these inspections are getting done by these certified people. So that will help us with that, which would also help bring another revenue stream to the city of Aurora as well, because you could charge, you would charge the sprinkler contractor a fee for making them come out and do the test. So it opens up a door for that. And then it also increase our compliance rates for failed inspections, because now we're getting out there on a more timely basis for follow-ups and making sure these inspections are getting taken care of. This also would be the ability to devote more time and efforts to ensure that the operational permits are in place, that being tire storage, spray booths, that type of thing, all are supposed to have operational permits. That would give us a better idea to get people out there and making sure that they have these appropriate permits in place. This will start the process of moving all the business inspections away from the fire companies. What we'd like to do is get a staffed bureau that the fire companies would be out there doing pre-plans and hazard buildings where it could cost them their life, rather than being out there doing just life safety inspections. Plus, they're not certified inspectors, so they're really looking at things that back in the 70s when fire inspector first came out and you were a firefighter, you had the carte blanche to go in there and say this was good. Times have changed, we all know that. Now they require certified inspectors to do these inspections. So like I said, the fire companies would, which they're currently doing about 6,000 inspections, that would give them more time to work on their daily duties, the training, like Deputy Chief Nicola talked about, and focusing on those type of high hazard buildings. In addition to putting on those 3 inspectors, we are asking for 3 additional fire prevention vehicles. Currently, we are using Car 27 from the fire department fleet. We had an inspector that was hired last year, and we didn't have a vehicle for them, so we've had Car 27 on loan. This would give them their car back, especially for their personnel, and it would also allow the 2 new inspectors to have a vehicle. Would also allow us to increase the size of this Ford car that we have to go to a larger size vehicle, whether it be a small SUV or a pickup truck that we have been in talks with the garage about, so that we can carry the equipment that we need for fire prevention when we go out and do fire extinguisher training, when we're out doing events. You just can't get these type of equipment and materials inside these small vehicles. This is going to ensure that inspectors are not also using their personal vehicles to conduct city business. Allows for, like I said, adequate space to transport the needed equipment, like those things I talked about with the fire extinguisher training props, banners, tables, fire prevention handouts, so we can get out in the community a little bit more and talk about those fire safety hazards. And that's all I have.
Questions or comments? I think we're good. Thank you very
Thank
much
you,
for the
sir.
presentation.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Natalie Weiza. I'm the Emergency Management Coordinator here for the City of Aurora. Today, I bring to you a light budget, not too many changes. You probably saw looking through the budget lines that we did have a significant decrease this year. Last year, we were kind of heavy on the decision packages. We needed some equipment replacements and things like that. Our mindset going in with myself and staff, we try to be fiscally responsible. This year is a lighter year, so we're focused more on people and training than we are things. So we'll go ahead and jump right into it. When it comes to the office staff, I just want to put a reminder out here. In years past, the budget has afforded the agency to grow from just the emergency management coordinator. So if you've been around for a while, it was one person in Aurora. When I came in 2019, we were able to work through the budget process and this mayoral administration who saw the need to expand the agency. So we have increased staffing positions by 4 so far. Hopefully that is not the end. We do have a bigger vision in the future, but we currently have on staff a training and exercise specialist. We have a community-based specialist, technological and communication specialist, resiliency specialist. All of those staff positions that exist right now have specific roles. So training and exercise is exactly what that is. They help train and exercise the city government, so all of the departments, all of the employees who have been identified as a key component within an emergency or disaster situation to ensure that their skill sets and knowledge are up to date. The community-based individual, they focus on humanitarian aid and relief. They are also the liaison with our school districts, with our faith-based organizations, our nonprofits. So they're out there shaking hands and understanding what those key stakeholders are doing and how they can come help us when there's an emergency or disaster situation and help our community and our constituents. Technological and communications, they are in charge of everything that has to do with hazardous materials, CBRN, icky bad stuff. He is also the geeky guy who deals with the radios and works closely with IT and makes sure that when things go bad, that our first responders and even our customer service representatives, so across the city government, we have the ability to mitigate or prevent issues with cellular, landline, our data, our networking, and when we've done everything and the world just turns upside down, he builds the capacity to be able to keep communications running in the city. The newest one this year, which was a budget request last year, is our resiliency specialist. That is a core focus in mitigation and recovery. And we're also looking at that position to deal with climate change as well as populations. The reason populations is getting put in there is we're finding more in our research in the office that a disaster is not necessarily the tornado or the weapon of mass destruction or the hazardous material incident. The disaster is the behavior between the community right now and the impact of that. And if the community is not together beforehand, that is what actually creates the disaster. So they're looking at new things to be forward thinking as we build out our planning and preparedness processes. With that, the current year budgets in the last 5 years I've been here have also been able to sustain our volunteer program. You notice we have a recap of the staffing hierarchy, and then staff is also assigned to oversight the 6 areas of our volunteer program. We currently have approximately 40 community members who provide around 4,000 hours a year in volunteer-based service. There's 6 activities or emergency operations center support. So they come in and they actually can help augment city staff and do different types of positions during an emergency or disaster, and they are trained to be integrated and networked right in there with us when something's going on. We have ground search and rescue, and we have our severe weather activity. We have traffic management and our communications, and then we also have public education. We are hoping to grow by another 10, and we are very excited. Like I said, they give around 4,000 hours a year. The year to date at the end of September was around 3,600, so they are going to achieve that approximately 4,000 by the end of the year. So some of the highlights so far this year, we have retained as an agency and as a city the State Illinois Emergency Management Accreditation. We also have ran a couple of this says one, but we've ran one cyber tabletop, and then we've had a couple of what's called workshops with our communications department, and we're building capacity with communications as they've come online as a new department this year. And then IT has been very integral in staying upfront and forward thinking when it comes to different cyber incidents. Like I mentioned, we hired the resiliency specialist. We've recruited approximately 10 new volunteers this year. We have increased city staff and community education efforts. So public education by our volunteers goes out to the public, but we're also doing our part to advise and advocate to the different departments to keep them abreast of what's going on. So if you think of everything that happened with Milton and Helene and we have wildfires going on out west, we are taking notes and we're going to aggregate that and hopefully push that out to the departments that they need to know that information. We also ran our second year intern program this year. I say, even though it's the second year, this has been a great opportunity. Not too many emergency management agencies in the state of Illinois provide a paid internship program. I'm hoping to work with HR through 2025 to increase capacity for that going forward. The only decision package we asked for this year, like I said, we try to be fiscally responsible, is what we call a pole locator sign project. The Aurora Police Department came to us and they wanted to figure out a way to work within River's Edge Park to identify locations for if someone was calling for service because they have a medical emergency, a trauma emergency, bad actor, whatever. So we worked with them, and what we did was we implemented what you can see here on the slide deck. I'm sorry, I could not get that picture to expand any further, but we went through the park and we worked with Jarvis and his team, Jim Jarvis and his team, APD, EMA, AFD, and we created the pole locator sign project. So what this is throughout the poles in River's Edge Park, we assigned a letter and a number depending on the section and the location. So if anybody, because we have a lot of out-of-towners that come in and they're maybe not too familiar with addressing, they can say, I'm at River Edge Park and this is the pole number I'm by. When they call 911 and request service. So what we want to do with this 2025 project is we actually want to increase this to the downtown area because we have so many parades. We have Luminora going on right now. We have people who come in from out of town who are not necessarily familiar with streets and parcel numbers. And they may not even know the names of buildings, coffee shops or whatever. So what we're going to do is we're going to work with downtown services, again, fire and police, and it's going to be a collaborative effort to offer this signage so we can get the services down to the people who need it faster. Some of our initiatives going forward, we are looking to perform one full-scale exercise to satisfy not only a state of Illinois mandate, but we noticed, before the hurricanes decided to set in the last few years, hazardous material train incidents have become a problem across the country. They really were brought into full view by the media, especially after the East Palestine incident. So we are working closely with BNSF to perform a full-scale exercise. The uniqueness about this exercise is it's not only going to be lights and sirens from fire and police department, but we are going to incorporate all city departments, and we are going to work on the recovery component. So everybody's really great at response, but when it comes to putting the community back together, it maybe necessarily doesn't happen well. So we want to test this function going forward. We're implementing a volunteer academy to enhance recruitment efforts. We did a pilot this year at the beginning of the year, and a new one is about to start in a couple of weeks. That is going well because we're ensuring that those community members are coming in with a baseline understanding in training. We are mandated by the federal government that we have to implement what's called the National Qualification System. Our training and exercise specialist has been working diligently to get this closed out. When that happens, that's going to be a 1 to 2 year educational rollout for our city representatives who've been identified to participate in emergency and disasters. What the National Qualification System is it is a standard or a method of measurement to ensure that somebody can function appropriately during an emergency or disaster through what we have to follow as the emergency management agency and program in the city. Of course, we look forward to continuing to supporting public and professional education, but the one thing we're excited about is we are putting the final touches on our 5-year strategic plan, which is going to drive the decisions on how we're doing things, not only within the agency, but we're going to start looking at cross-coordination and cross-functioning between departments. So when IT does their cybersecurity month, we're going to put that into the strategic plan because that gets us points at the state and federal government. If community services, specifically, senior and disability services or youth services, if they're doing something that is going to meet the mark for emergencies and disasters, we are going to add that to the strategic plan. So it's going to be not just an agency, but it's going to be a whole of city government, and hopefully encompass that and really grow that resiliency so we're not taking the burden when something happens. So as far as the line items, we only had one decision package. We have no major changes to increase the budget, but I do want to point out that we did approximately $7,000 in our 4201 and 4203, and that was an increase for training. As Alex Alexandru said earlier, the city has a vision to invest in that professional development and skill set maintenance, and that's what we're doing there. We did add an increase for volunteers at $2,500. That is earmarked for their annual volunteer appreciation dinner. It's the least we can do to give back to them for an award ceremony and a dinner at the end of the year and recognize their efforts. With that, I will entertain any questions.
Questions or comments from the committee? Alderman Bug.
You said we are going to do this disaster training. In the past, we sometimes have done things with Naperville. Is this going to be solely an Aurora thing? Is it going to be a regional thing? Naperville doesn't have as much of that train line, but they have some.
Yes. So as we're finalizing the strategic plan, I have asked the training and exercise specialist to explore ways that we can collaborate with our neighbors. Is it a county? Is it Naperville? Is it St. Charles? Who is it? Reason being is the mandates that we follow does not say that we have to live within a silo to execute those things. So we are able to share the wealth on making sure that our accreditation is kept, but it also builds that capacity further. I have been in conversation with the command staff over at Naperville. We have tossed around some ideas. It has not been set on paper, but they are more than eager to help bring Aurora and Naperville together with or without a grant. If you guys were around, you remember we had the grant several years ago, and they would like to put forth effort, little mini exercises, or hopefully in the future, because we have a cycle we have to follow for the big ones, the exercises, we can do that again. Because at the end of the day, we're so close. What's going to happen here is going to affect them and vice versa.
And when you say the mandate, is a mandate on, is it our population because we're over 150,000 or what?
So our mandate, so there's the Emergency Management Agency, and the agency is responsible for ensuring that there's an emergency management program, and that program encompasses the 46 square miles of Aurora. So from the individual households to the mayor's office, that is what that program encompasses. That's why we work so closely with schools, faith-based nonprofits, businesses, as well as all city departments. And with that mandate, because we're accredited, the state of Illinois mandates that the 102 counties are the only ones that are accredited. Years ago, someone was leading the agency. I have not found the paperwork yet. But years ago, one of the previous coordinators said, we're going to be accredited too, because if something happens here, we are going to hurt Kane County. So we need to be able to show that we are robust, we have the ability to do things. So with this accreditation, we have both federal and state mandates that we have to follow. It gets boggy with paper, but we have to do it in order to show that we are robust and we can take care of our own in the 46 square miles.
Okay. Well, but that person, whoever they were intelligent.
Yeah. I think the oldest certificate is from like
Because if-
83.
Right.
so-
If we had something near 4 Points,
Yeah.
and you had to have everybody come from Joliet and Wheaton and Yorkville, they wouldn't get here in time.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
exactly.
So, thank you.
I had one question. I saw the volunteer roster went from 40 to 25.
The other way. We went from, did I type it wrong? I'm so
Well,
sorry if I did. It went,
2025 it says 25.
Nope.
2024 is 40.
I put it backwards.
Okay, I
So it went from
thought that might
25
be
to 40.
Because I don't think we're losing volunteers.
Yeah,
Right,
no,
okay.
we definitely have increased. And I think it's a combination of we've been trying to do more publicity, but our volunteers are so dedicated and there's been a lot of word of mouth. We've been out a lot more touch-a-trucks. Those volunteers come help with touch-a-trucks or pub ed or being out in the public, and it's been word of mouth.
Right.
We also have garnered some city employees who have come in and signed up to volunteer. So I think we're up to 3 city employees now.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any comments or questions? Thank you, Natalie, for that.
Thank you.
I think that concludes our presentation from the fire department. Anything else to become before the finance committee today?
Motion to adjourn.
Hearing none, we have a motion adjourned by Alderwoman Bay, second by Alderman Bug. All in favor, say aye. We are adjourned at 2:43. And just to remind everybody, we will meet again for our budget meeting on Monday, the 21st at